7 out of 10 workers are disengaged. Disengaged is a nice way of saying people dislike or even hate going to work. It's estimated that the resulting loss in productivity costs the global economy $9 trillion a year. And it doesn't just cost the people at the top, it costs the workers too. Work is one of our primary stressors, and stress one of our biggest killers. The disengagement costs people quality of life, years off of their lives, and even their lives. The word karoshi in Japanese translates to death from overwork. And the craziest part about all of this is that we have the solution, and always have. Now, you can't get 100% engagement overnight. But if you implement modern, strengths-based, evidence-based management methods, you can pretty reliably just about double your engagement rate. And yet, year after year, decade after decade, I would argue century after century, we don't change very much. Why? You know, when you look at this at the 30,000 foot level, it doesn't make any sense. We've got a massive problem that impacts everyone, and we have the solution. But if you look at it up close, you start to understand. Up close, the worker is saying to the manager, if you treat me better, I'll give you better. If you give me more respect, in a word. More listening, understanding, empathy, recognition, support. I'll be more engaged. I'll be more productive, and I'll give you a better quality of work. And we know that this is right. But the manager is saying the same thing to the worker that they've always said, which is, that's not how it works. You're disengaged and you want better treatment? No. You're getting the level of respect, you're getting the treatment, the appreciation that you've earned. You give me C-level effort, you get C-level appreciation or respect. And here's the thing that I think we need to start saying to the managers that we're not. You know, we focus on the fact that the opportunity for change is in the hands of the managers. Gallup wrote a book on this. It's called It's the Manager. And we're not necessarily saying that it's the manager's fault, but when you suggest that the opportunity for change exists in the manager's hands, it certainly does imply that the problem lies there too. But the managers would say, no, we're not the problem. The workers are the problem. And think about it for a moment from the manager's point of view. What's a disengaged worker like for a manager? Some estimate that the average worker is productive 3 out of every 8 hours. Others estimate that the average worker gives about 60% of what they're supposed to be giving. I read an estimate not too long ago that suggests the average worker is on social media at work for about an hour and a half a day. From the manager's point of view, they're not the problem, and therefore they don't need to change. The workers are the problem, and they need to change. And I would argue the managers have a good argument. The managers are right. Now, I think we need to start saying that to the managers. You're right. And 7 out of 10 people are disengaged. So, you can be right, or you can be effective. It really comes down to that. Effective will mean you use strengths-based management methods that are going to seem counterintuitive. But before you even look to those, if you're a manager, if you just start asking yourself, am I doing this thing, whatever it might be, your communication, your attitude, the way you look, am I doing this because it's the right thing to do, or because it's the most effective way to achieve the goal? If you're a manager and you start asking yourself that question, 3 things are going to occur to you. Number 1, you're going to recognize you don't always know what the goal is. Like, you know what the overarching goal is, but the goal in the moment. Say, for example, somebody's late 3 times in 1 week. You're probably going to pull them aside and, have a little talk with them, reprimand them, right? But is that the most effective way to achieve the goal? Well, what is the goal? For them to be on time? At some places, sure, certainly. In other places, that probably doesn't matter as much. And the overarching goal, the larger goal of the workers' greater engagement and productivity matters more. And is that reprimand, even if it gets them there on time and you get an extra 30 minutes of productivity from them or 30 minutes of their presence, does that achieve the larger goal? I don't know. It depends on your situation. But when you start asking yourself, is this the most effective way of achieving the goal? You're going to recognize that you don't always know the goal. That's going to have you then think about what the goal is. And when you're thinking about the goal, you're going to achieve it more often. The second thing that's going to happen is you're going to recognize, I know what the goal is, but I am doing this thing. This intervention is because it's the right thing to do. Guy's late 3 times, I'm going to reprimand him. I mean, that's the right thing to do. They're doing wrong. I'm going to right it. That's my job. You're going to recognize that a lot of the time you're choosing the right thing and not the most effective thing. And right can mean different things. It can mean morally right. There's a wrong and I'm righting it. It can mean, well, this is the way I was taught to do it. It can mean this is the way we've always done it. You hear a lot of that. But if you start recognizing that you're doing things because they're right and not because they're most effective, and you want to do the most effective thing, well, you start recognizing that more often, you're going to do the more effective thing. And the third thing you're going to recognize is that there are times when you recognize that you're doing it because it's right, because it's what's always been done, and there probably is a more effective way to do it, but you don't know what that is. And if you find yourself in that place as a manager, you're in a great place. Because that's the point at which you're going to go and look for these management methods. You're going to start asking, what are these methods that are going to make me more effective? I've been doing the right thing, and I still have 7 out of 10 disengaged. I want to do the more effective thing. How do I do that? I think the point I want to make for this video is, when we focus on the opportunity for change being in the hands of the manager, it suggests that the problem exists there. And in most places of business, most workplaces, that's not the way they're acting, that's not the way they feel. They feel like the worker is the one that's disengaged and therefore they need to change. And that's understandable. I would argue that's right. It's morally right. And we need to start saying this to the manager, or we need to start listening to the manager and acknowledging where they're coming from. Because it's only at that point that you can then suggest something to them. So I suggest, first of all, me as a consultant who works in the leadership space, saying to you, and I suggest this of other people in this space, saying to you, the managers, you're right. And saying to you, you can continue to be right, and 7 out of 10 will continue to be disengaged, or you can be effective. And if you start asking yourself that, am I doing this because it's right or because it's the most effective thing to do, you're going to find that you're often doing things because it's the right thing to do. And if you desire becoming the most effective manager you can be, that's going to then give you the opportunity to make the change and to start doing things, especially with regard to communication, that are going to make you more effective.